This video is going to cover the top 4 ways I think disinformation is seen on the internet today on topics of controversy where people are trying to get to the truth, but they seem obscured and distracted by disinformation and misinformation. And the difference between the two, if you don't already know, is that misinformation is wrong, but it's unintended. So somebody's just heard something and they repeat it without checking it, and this is very detrimental. But the intent is innocent, even though the effect is still damaging. Disinformation is setting out knowing that you're going to lie, knowing that you're going to disrupt the information flow, knowing that you're attempting to cause confusion. And that's the point of disinformation, that you leave the truthful message so clouded in doubt and controversy that people are not so convinced of the truth, even though the truth is right there. And the reason is because of something called a signal to noise ratio. And signal in this case is, if it were a radio signal you were listening to, that's the topic, the honest topic that's trying to be communicated. The noise is all the disinformation or the disruption or the personal attacks and everything that clouds that honest topic from being heard. And on the internet today, we suffer a tremendously poor signal to noise ratio, meaning that there's a lot of noise. And here's 4 ways you can see that. Look out for it. You've probably seen it already, but it's good to be armed with knowledge so that you can spot it very easily in the future. The first one is to provoke people with emotional and personal attacks. And we see this all the time on forums, and the purpose is to hijack people's attention away from the main topic and get people arguing about personal issues, getting people to defend themselves or attack other people's attacks. And it's quite easy to spot because they're usually personal attacks, calling people names and insults and undermining their work or opinion, or just attacking them blatantly. Look out for words in capital letters as well, because this is trying to suggest a higher intensity of the criticisms and accusations being leveled at other people. And the solution to this one is just to ignore them, because they want you to bite down on their bait of the personal attack and respond. And you see, if someone responds to the first bait, then obviously they're going to react to every bait trap set by the disinformant or just everyday troll, because now they are invested in counter-attacking or defending themselves, their reputation, or any other mind-made label of ego, such as the egoic label of being right, which is a very, very common one. So the solution is just to ignore them. The second type is to introduce irrelevant and dead-end confusion. Whenever possible, they try to introduce new facts or information or clues designed to conflict with the truth-seeking presentation. And it's a very useful tool for them, because what it does is it neutralizes the power of the truthful information, because it impedes somebody reaching a conclusion that is certain, and as intended, it brings in new doubts, it purposely fuels confusion, or it can send people off after different information, new developments, or completely apparently related but information that turns out to be a red herring and that was just a diversion or a distraction, or simply information that is semi-related but not helpful in finding the real issue, the real truth of the matter. And so this irrelevant and dead-end confusion sends people in different directions, and all the time that's investigating non-useful or divergent topics is time not spent investigating the critical topics and actually finding the truth. Really, the best thing we can do is try not to expose ourselves to such unreliable information in the first place. Avoid taking recommendations from strangers, especially on forums with high traffic levels, because for the disinformants, that's where they're going to be primarily, because they're going to get a very high impact ratio of all the disinformation that they spread and all of the people that see it. So on smaller forums, it's less of a problem, but they are everywhere. So be very picky about who you listen to and who you take recommendations from. So for example, if we were to invest 6 hours in a video series of documentaries, who would we listen to? Some unknown person on a forum we know nothing about, or a completely random related video on YouTube that just happens to have a good, exciting title? No. A trusted blogger might be a good start, but of course there are people with a high profile who are disinformants as well. And the trick of disinformation is that you tell the truth 80 to 90% of the time. That way, people have faith in what you're saying, and your disinformation is very targeted and it's very powerful because nobody expects it, because all the rest of what you said, the 80 to 90% of truth that disinformants do emit, is true, and you can go and check it out, and everything they've said so far is true. But just occasionally, on topics which are sensitive to their agenda, perhaps protecting a group of people, for example, they will lie, but you won't notice it because everything else they've said has been true. The third type is character assassination by association. And this is a tool primarily of the mainstream media, who absolutely use this on a regular basis to attack people who are basically questioning the authority of the mainstream media, quite rightfully as well, questioning the authority of, again, the government and the establishment, you might say. And they come back with character assassinations by association with words that are unpopular and people know have negative connotations. So words like kooks, radical, terrorists even, conspiracy buffs, conspiracy loons, militia, radical, loony left, radical right, all of these kind of labels that are prejudged labels. So most people already have a filter that judges that word as negative, and when you put your name or your identity alongside it, the association of the two is detrimental to the image. And if this happens to you and you're on mainstream TV, the solution is really to not react or defend the provocation and the accusations, but rather quickly dismiss them. And if you're on radio or TV doing maybe an interview or something, get out the bulletproof facts and arguments that really back up your argument. So if you ever watch Fox News, for example, they are expert at derailing people. So they don't spend any time talking about the facts, but rather defending personal attacks launched by the newscaster themselves. And if this is an internet troll, just ignore them and continue to pump out the facts and what you know to be true and all the evidence that supports it. And finally, the fourth type is to argue the details of a different or less important subject. And this is a very common one. It's quite subtle. And sometimes it happens when the main point has been won. An example of this is on the Channel 4 documentary about inside Britain's Israeli lobby. And here you've got a comment from Leslie Golding that is very emotional and critical and attacks the publisher as having a stupid article with factual inaccuracies. So this is, ad hominem argument saying that he doesn't know what he's doing, and then it goes into emotional sympathy for the Israelis, saying that they are under attack, and separate topics really. It's talking about what would UK do if this happened to their encampment, if Afghanistan, and that's such a good diversion because it takes you into a whole different topic, and very emotional, very critical, and completely unrelated to what the main point of this particular documentary is. And the main point of this particular documentary is that Britain's Israeli lobby is one of the most powerful lobbies in the entire of the UK, and it has a hugely influential sway, which is very discerning and also hidden because not many people knew about it until this documentary, at least in the public view. So there we go. That's the top 4 disinformation tactics used against people like us who are trying to seek the truth. And don't forget to sign up your email on the newsletter at pjresearch.com in case this channel suddenly disappears off the face of the earth, as so frequently occurs. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.